Okay, so today we have our friends with us at ShopBack's research team, and they are going to be sharing a bit about their culture as well as their structure. But before we begin the talks, let's have our traditional interactive activity where we'll be doing some introductions as well. So maybe I'll just start with myself. So I'm Pam, and I am back from a long break. And today I'll be your host. We also have Sam and Zoe, and they'll be handling the back end and beginning fun bits. So I'm going to start today's session by handing it over to Sam, who's going to be talking you through the games of the day. So Sam.
Hi everyone. So as Pam mentioned, as per Friends of Figma Singapore tradition, we'll be starting our event tonight with an interactive segment. Since we are discussing how research teams work at ShopBack, FigJam is very fitting. FigJam, as you already know, is a super easy to use online whiteboard, which is perfect for bringing people from different functions together, UX practitioners or not. We'll be using FigJam to create baseball cards to help teams to get to know each other. In light of what is happening this past week, this special edition virtual baseball card collection is dedicated to Ukraine. We all probably have seen a lot of Ukrainian maps lately, but not in real life. We wanted to show you how beautiful it is, and we hope the tragedies there will end soon and we would be able to visit it someday. There are also resources at the end of the FigJam file where you are able to help. So to create your baseball card, as some of you have already started, you can select one of these virtual landscapes using these variants here. And this is a library that I put on FigJam. All of these Polaroid cameras can only be used by one person at any time. So use one that's not being used by someone else and place it on your card. We'd love to see more portraits of everybody tonight. And yeah, we'll take some time to dress it up and add any like fun stickers, GIFs, drawings. There are all these like tools that you can use. There's a little bit of a FigJam introduction or refresher here. So yeah, if you haven't already started, we'll do this for about 10 minutes before the ShopBack presentation.
Everyone has very strong photo book gaze. I'm very impressed. I definitely do not look like that. I had to take my photo a few times.
Yeah, same. I took this like ahead of time.
Same.
I couldn't decide which one I wanted. It's my cat.
You cheat. I was like, I'll live with the unflattering photo.
No, it's because the two of us have pets, so we had to actually pose with the pet, and it takes quite a bit of effort to get your dog's face right in front.
It's a really good picture of that.
So posy. Kyle has a mushroom on his head. Hey, so cute. Y'all can also add like stickers and stuff like that to decorate your card. This is something that we also did at our workplace. So after the session, you can maybe take this at your questions and then duplicate it and get to know members of your team as well. Since we're talking about team culture today with the ShopBack team, so we thought that this would be something that's relevant to that. Anything interesting in the what's your favorite offline activity and what's something you're grateful for that everyone is adding?
Oh, what kind of board games do you play, Kyle?
Oh, are you asking for like recent stuff that I played? Or
Oh yeah, like what are your favorite games?
oh, what are my favorite games? So that's a hard question. I guess I like Clank a lot, but it's a very long game. But if I were to say what's been on my mind recently, I've been playing a lot of Wavelength, which I think Zoe knows. Wavelength is great. It's a great party game for like dumb conversations.
Yeah,
And the
virtual
design
one.
is really pretty as well. Kind of want to try it.
We should meet, then we can have some dumb conversations. It's a taco or sandwich.
Okay, that's a deal. Let's do that. I also want to play the game.
Favorite board game is Throw Burrito, because I don't like thinking games. You basically like have to shuffle a bunch of cards, and when you get a combination, certain combinations, you can throw a burrito plushie at each other.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
fairly mindless, which I like.
Does the
No.
plushie come with the pack or like?
Yeah, it comes with the pack. Actually, I
It came
can
with
bring
the
them. Yeah, they have like two. You get two burrito plushies, and then they have like add-ons where now you can have like I think avocados.
I feel like that's like passive aggressive violence, which I really like. Like you can
I
throw
was just
something
thinking
at
two
the.
plushies is not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. We have like friends who also have throw burritos. So in total, we have like we can combine our plushies together.
Is it big? Like how big is it?
Oh, I can bring it actually.
A lot of people are writing that they're grateful for peace in the
Oh,
cards, which is so sad. No, actually, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
life itself.
Oh,
Jerry
the
is
burrito
like
plushie.
Jerry is like, I'm grateful for being alive. So dark. Hey,
Everyone has
Yanling.
such healthy hobbies. Oh, this is great. I am Roland's vibe.
Yanling likes working from home. I also like working from home. Whoa, somebody like likes weightlifting and bouldering. So healthy. Hi Esther. Can see you in the file. Oh, lots of people like reading and sleeping. These are my people.
I see a dog. Chloe has a dog. Oh. Dog.
Oh, Mirza, yeah. Mirza likes dancing. Did you, are you self-taught, Mirza?
Yeah, I'm self-taught.
You should share. You should share your dancing videos with everyone. Are you shy?
Kinda.
Okay, you can sneakily share it later in the Zoom chat.
You got your TikTok.
Yeah. Roland is grateful for the bubbles and the wine, like bubble tea, or like the bubbles in the wine.
The
Curious.
bubbles in the bubble bath.
Or the bubble bath. I would also like that if I have space, money, and time for bubble bath. Lily's grateful for a job. Tiffany is grateful for peace in our country too. Aw.
We're grateful to have you, Nafi. Thank you for coming
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you. That's grateful for safety and team at work. It's really important to have a good team. That's really cool. And Tiana, playing chess, traveling, and have a chance to connect with people. Don't forget to say hi in the chat then. Jack is grateful for today. That's very straightforward. Simple, just today.
That's good. Man of the present.
Yeah, man of the present.
It's great to see everyone putting their Polaroids together. We don't often like see everyone's faces on these virtual events. So it's actually really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Thanks, Tiki.
Oh,
We should word
that's
cloud
cute.
activities. Yeah, should
Oh.
definitely do that. Well, Yingling design doing improvised theater. That's really, really cool. And grateful for inner peace. I need some of that. Can you share inner peace? I feel like I've just been reading the news all the time. Cool. Back over to you, Sam, so that I think we can get started with the event.
Yep. So we are, it's this file, right?
Sorry?
Oh, so yeah, I think we'll just be wrapping up this interactive activity, and we'll continue with the ShopBack user research team's presentation. So you can continue playing around with this, and at the end of the night, it'll still be open. So yeah, over to the ShopBack team.
Okay.
Pam?
Sorry, maybe I'll just give a quick introduction first. Yeah. So let's first give Sam a virtual thumbs up, emojis everywhere to thank her for hosting a really calm and zen session. And to all you folks out there, thanks for joining us in the file. So now we'll move on to our next and main section of the event, a talk from the research team of ShopBack. So today we have with us Amy, Jasmine, Iju, and Nenning from the team. So I'm going to start by handing the time over to Amy. And if you have any questions throughout the talks, we'll be sending a Q&A link right now. I hope that was instant. And we'll compile them for the question segments right after. Was that instant?
Sorry, I'm trying to copy it from the script over.
All right, we'll try it again. We'll be sending a Q&A link right.
Wait.
5, 4,
I sent it already. The Q&A link,
okay.
right?
Nice, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thanks, everyone. So again, you can send in your questions and we'll start to compile them right after. So yeah, maybe we'll start by getting Amy to start sharing. Thanks.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you guys, and thank you for having us today. Just first, before we start, I'd just like to give in some introductions about ShopBack for some of those who don't know about ShopBack. ShopBack is a portal to support smart shopping decisions. That we have more than 3,000 e-commerce brands collaborating with us today, and we are until today, we have more than 19 million users across 8 countries. Okay, and just a quick introductions about our UX team. ShopBack design teams, we include our UX designers and UX researchers and UX writers. And currently we are distributed in 3 regions in Taiwan, Vietnam, and Singapore. We are a team of 18 now. And we are continuing hiring more designers and researchers, just in case you know someone, if you are interested in the end of this this talk, we have a shared link. Okay, and within our UX team, our ShopBack research team is a team of 4. And we have a research lead, Nanin. She's from Indonesia and based in Singapore. And Jasmine, she's based from Singapore. Both Iru and me, we are based in Taiwan. And also you can have in a glance that we have different background as well. Yeah, so ShopBack UX team, we learned a lot from the community, and we are also giving back to the community as well. Last year, we have engaged with different community like Friends of Figma in Vietnam, UX Southeast Asia, and IXDA in Singapore, in Milan, in Taiwan. And today we are here, Friends of Figma Singapore. Yay. So today's talk, we are going to share our team culture. Before we starting with the team culture, just like to bring everybody on what's our aspirations. The team culture we are trying to build internally. We are trying to having a safe space for ourselves that we can trust each other and help each other when we need support. And this is also the environment we are trying to build, allowing us to express ourselves and show our own vulnerabilities in order to grow. Besides the trust and safety, I think it's also very important as a researcher being creative. And we also like to be creative, to having the environment to be creative, to experiment new methodology as well. Externally, how it look like from externally to looking at this research team, right? And we're trying to build a team that we want to be a trusted partner, and we also want to be a collaborative partner for all the stakeholders. When we are collaborating with our stakeholder, we're also trying to provide more strategic advice to our stakeholders too. Okay, and I just like, imagine this is a pyramid and I'm trying to like bring everybody from the top views and looking at what ShopBack value is, then further down to looking at the team culture and then down to the practice. And now I'm going to introduce a bit about our our ShopBack values. Yeah, so because of the times that I'm not going to share every of it, but I'm only going to share those, pick those aligned with our team spirits. First is success as one. We are one team. We win or lose as one ShopBack, as one team, right? And second is honor our customers. Our customers' happiness starts and ends with us. And this is also reflected that ShopBack is a user-centric organization. We put our user up front in our core values. Next is be better every day. We hold this iterative mindset to self-reflect ourselves day-to-day onto our day-to-day practice. And next is always be curious. We keep our curiosity in users and continuously exploring new behaviors. And last one, keep it real. We are authentic people, and we give in feedbacks and within good intentions. Okay, so now, okay, so now just like to give everyone 30 seconds to try to reflect a little bit. What does your team culture look like? You can type in your chat. Chaotic, supportive, happy, awesome, fun, respect, lonely, team of one, oh, democratic, dope, united, Pepe stickers. Great. Love bubble tea, love cat, empowering, great. Love food, cool. All right, so when I was trying to prepare for this theme and talk, I also asked the same questions to our team. And that you can see there are empathetic and trusted and support, curiosity and exploratory. It really tells us that our team, we are very human-centric human-centric cultures that to support each other's. We are also agile in experiment while we are maintaining our rigors. So first, our keyword is human-centric. That as a research teams, we are the user advocate that though we came from very different background, right? We have a computer science background, and we have a psychology background. We have someone from a linguistic background, and me personally from industrial design background. But we are all having this common interest in human behavior and behavioral science. And while we are conducting research, we respect our users and making sure they are comfortable to talking and trusting us. And the same principle we also trying to apply with our stakeholders too. We're trying to build our trust with them, and so then they can express their challenge and their pain point without any hesitations. While we are building our trust with our stakeholders, we're also trying to empower them to be part of the research process and or conduct their own, encourage them to conduct their own research with our assistance. So next one is agile. In order to make everyone informative in the whole research process, we have very many different formats of sharing and reflection process. For example, we have bi-weekly research retros to reflect our professional or personal experiences, that we can express our concerns and celebrate our success as a team. And this process is extremely important to me and for us to recognize the issues and find out the solution collectively in this meeting, this 1.5 hour meeting. And we're not just iterative on ourselves. We are also trying constantly collecting feedback from our stakeholders for better collaborations. Lastly, the team is also trying to experiment and brainstorm different ways of doing research. For example, we made research into the smaller portions, and in order to make a quick success to help the product decision can be quickly react to it. The next one that is about rigorous, that we keep our neutrality so that we don't take side with any stakeholders or our own biases in bi-weekly research sync or the review sessions that we have we will cross-examine each other's point of view and research questions if those questions are leading questions or bias basis, we're trying to correct those point of views. And when we engage with stakeholders, we also stay neutral. We are trying to understand their business and their product challenge in order to have their voice heard. We also engage with stakeholders in the research process, as I mentioned earlier. We involve them in this process by because we want to just treating the research to show them and treating how we treating the research and trust our research result. Usually our stakeholders joining our interview sessions as observers, and also they will reflect their learning during the debrief sessions. Regarding to the mixed methods that we starting from last year's experiment, we're starting to using mixed method include qualitative and quantitative data. We maintain this process because we believe this will help our process and data more relevant to our stakeholders in order to make further decisions. We also have tried many different type of communication methods. For example, with broader ShopBackers, we make videos and place the videos in town hall. Or within the project teams, we use storyboard to storytell user pain points. Okay. Oh. Yeah, so just like to give in a summary of the keywords about cultures and how they happen in our team activity and processes. Within the team culture of people-centric that we help to train ShopBackers on research methods, and process-wise, we're also using different communication methods to share our finding internally. We are the centralized team even covers countries that we don't speak those language, for example, like Thailand or Korea. Within the team culture of agiles, we have our daily stand-up meetings and bi-weekly retros to reflect our process and ways of doing things in the bi-weekly and daily basis. We are also constantly trying to looking for ways looking at data and validate data by qualitative and quantitative. We seek for feedback by our stakeholders to reflect and help the collaboration better. Lastly, it's about team culture of rigor. We have bi-weekly sync sessions and to cross-examine and critique our sessions. From this whole process, we also use FigJam a lot to facilitate our collaborations and discussions in order to support our alignments and efficiencies. Now, just let me bring out some of the few important process that we use Figma for. Okay. The first one is a weekly design sync. In weekly design sync, the UX team, 18 of us, that we gather on FigJam board and as a group to share in our weekly work. It's a supportive and interactive process that to help avoiding silos, to help us to maintain our alignment with other designers. And yeah, the pipette stickers, that's definitely something our favorite. And you can see we are not just showing our work there, we're also showing what drama we have or animation we have watched last week, a book we have read last week. A lot of great information out there. It's not just piece of a meeting, but it's also a format of engage with other designers. Okay. The next one is about debrief sessions. When we conduct an interview, we often invite our stakeholder to observe the sessions, and they document their observations on FigJam board. After the interview, the interviewer, note takers, and observers, they will come to FigJam board and to reflect their learnings and debrief about 15 minutes. And this 15 minutes is important for us, as a research team, because it's an opportunity for us to learn stakeholder their point of view. And it's also an opportunity for researcher to teach our perspective and how we looking at the data, teaching them about the user-centric methodologies. Yeah, and the next one is the synthesis. Yeah, after the data collection is finished, we have this like accumulated data on this massive FigJam board. You can see here, and you can see there's like different sessions. There's like raw data sessions on the right-hand side, right? There are like part of like synthesized half completed sessions on the left-hand side. There are some graph there, and by that the researchers are able to connecting the dot and looking at the data in one glance, and it's really helpful for us to having more visual connections onto the data. Yeah. So yeah, now I'm going to hand over to Jasmine, and she is going to talk about how these frameworks apply in our day-to-day practice. And she is going to introduce by storyboard and to present our week in the life as a researcher in ShopBack. Jasmine.
Thanks, Amy. So hey everyone, to show how the UX research team works, I'm going to share a hypothetical week in the life of a ShopBack UX researcher. So note that we purposely made this week a little bit more condensed than our typical schedule so we can showcase more activities. So depending on the phase of the research cycle that we're in, our week can look quite different. So the schedule that I'm going to walk you through is assuming that we have finished collecting and synthesizing data for a specific research project. So before we walk through it, I want to give full credit to Iru, our UX researcher, for the amazing illustrations that you're going to see in the following slides. So if you look at the schedule, one thing that is consistent every day is a UX research stand-up held every morning. So similar to a Scrum stand-up, we share what we did yesterday, what we will do today, and the blockers that we currently face. So this not only ensures that we're aligned on our research work, but it also helps us to work in a more agile way as we can quickly get feedback or suggestions from each other on how to do certain tasks better. We also get the chance to escalate important blockers to our UX research lead so that we can quickly get help. So after we have finished collecting and analyzing the user research data from the previous week, we focus on summarizing our research findings. So during this process, we typically combine user research findings with other relevant data sources, such as web analytics, business data, customer service queries, previous user research findings, even competitor analysis. So this helps us to gather additional context or to strengthen the evidence needed for an insight. So as shared earlier, one way we synthesize research findings from a lot of different sources is through FigJam. And this is because it really allows us to see all the different types of research data easily on one single board and helps us to do cross-analysis. After summarizing our user research findings, we typically share the research report with certain stakeholders in advance of the actual presentation so we can improve the rigor of the report. For example, we may get feedback from data analysts to ensure that the analytics data extracted is accurate. We may also work with product managers, for example, to prioritize insights and recommendations that are most relevant for the existing product timeline. We also work with product designers on contextualizing the user needs and fleshing out design recommendations in more detail. We also share our report with our fellow UX researchers so that we can just check if we have any research gaps and also to check if the storytelling format is suitable for our stakeholders. So one activity that is also done every Monday, as mentioned by Amy earlier, is the design sync. So this 1 hour meeting includes all the 18 designers and researchers from ShopBack. So everyone has about 2.5 minutes to share about the current projects that they're working on and also to ask for feedback if they need it. So as shared earlier, we use FigJam to add updates on our work and what we did on the weekend. So I think this ability to be able to very easily add screenshots of our work or what we did the past week is very convenient and also allows all the other designers and researchers to add reactions in real time as well. So as UX researchers, this design sync allows us to better understand the design initiatives on a broader level and helps us to better collaborate with designers as we can understand what are their current projects, what are their design goals. We also get to share some of the user insights that we have found from our user research, which might be useful for ongoing design projects. So another activity that you will see on the weekly calendar is a product update sharing. So ShopBack has company-wide product updates held on a recurring basis where persons from the product team, they communicate important product initiatives such as our ongoing product development features or any other A/B testing experiments that are currently ongoing. So as UX researchers, we attend these product update meetings to help us better understand the wider business and product strategy. And this is especially useful if we have this is especially useful for projects that we are currently working on and helps us to better translate some of the user research findings into more informed and relevant recommendations. And after the research project is completed, we typically arrange an online meeting with all our cross-functional stakeholders to share and discuss the findings. So we may share research findings in different ways depending on the needs of the stakeholders. When presenting the research, we try to maintain neutrality as UX researchers by raising the user issues in a more objective way. So we try to frame it more from the user's perspective and are mindful not to cite or pinpoint any stakeholders. We're also mindful to remove our own personal biases as much as possible when presenting the report. After a research project is completed, we typically get assigned to a new research project. So during the research planning phase of this project, we try to first prepare for the kickoff meeting with the stakeholders. So what we do is we'll start with conducting desk research. We identify what is already known about the issue, for example, by referencing relevant Confluence documents, looking at past user research, looking at some of the related customer support ticket data, and any other data sources such as market research reports, so that we can identify trends and gather more context for this research project. This is an important part of the preparation, as it helps us to prepare for asking any important clarifying questions when we meet with the wider team during the kickoff meeting. So after doing desk research on the research projects, we will meet with various stakeholders like the product managers, product designers, and even marketing and business development personnel, just to ensure that the user research conducted aligns with their product and business objectives. So to build trust with our stakeholders, we ensure that we discuss issues such as what are the goals of the research. We talk about any hypotheses or assumptions that they may have. And we also talk about more in-depth details, such as how we're going to choose the participants and what kind of interview questions we're going to ask. After this initial meeting, we may share a more detailed Confluence page of the research plan for them to add more of their comments, and we also set up a dedicated Slack channel to facilitate further conversations about this user research. Given that another goal of the research team is to empower ShopBackers to do their own research and also to promote the culture of user centricity, the UX researchers are also helping to support other people in the company to do their own UX research. So there are a few different ways that we do this. A more hands-on approach is we may help, for example, our product team members to review their research plan and to review interview questions and provide any comments or feedback. We may also assist in co-facilitation of their workshops and help in the synthesis of their findings. So if there are limited time and resources available, we may provide help in another way. So for example, we may give templates, process guides, and training to support them to conduct their own research independently. In ShopBack, Thursday is called a flow day, so ShopBackers are advised not to schedule any large meetings and to reserve this day for focused and deep work. So as UX researchers, it allows us to take the opportunity to do work that requires more concentration, such as creating interview questions or creating screening forms for our research. It also allows us to do important work that is less urgent on a day-to-day basis. So we try to document our past research findings and presentations on documents on Confluence as much as possible. So this is to ensure that it's accessible to other teams who may be working on the same topic. We also document processes such as recruitment methods, incentive disbursement methods, some of our interview templates, so that other team members can reference it. And hopefully this helps them to do their own research more efficiently and independently. Lastly, we may also get the time to do some of our more exploratory data analysis on platforms such as Metabase and Amplitude before we start on our actual user research. So this helps us to get a better understanding, for example, of the audience or some of the behaviors that we are researching on, and gather more context on the topic before we actually embark on the user research. So then we go on to Friday. Friday afternoons are typically reserved for a research retrospective activity, as it's the time when all of us are more relaxed. During a research retrospective, the UX research lead will create a Confluence page with a table, for example, with 3 different categories: happy, neutral, and sad. We'll spend the first 15 minutes individually reflecting on events in the past 2 weeks. So these events will be related to research projects, but also we reflect on our own personal lives. Next, all of us enter how we are feeling about our research projects and our personal lives into each section on the Confluence page. Then the UX research lead will quickly categorize it into different topics or categories to facilitate the discussion. Then all of us take turns to share experiences from our past research projects that went well. We also talk about issues that might not have gone so well, and then we discuss potential areas of improvement, and these things as action items to be followed up on before the next retrospective. So these Confluence pages are also kept private to promote a more safe and open space for feedback. And I think this research retrospective process is actually also very useful to help us to continuously gather feedback, discuss our challenges openly, and collectively brainstorm on how we can improve our research process. So in summary, I hope that this week in the life of a UX researcher is able to highlight some of the team activities and processes, then showcase how it fits into the 3 principles of the team culture that we were talking about, which is people centricity, agility, and rigor. So if you're interested in finding out more about ShopBack, you can check out our ShopBack design website and also follow us on our Instagram page. You can also find out more information about some of our past UX research projects and processes from the ShopBack Tech blog on Medium. Iru has also written about her internship experience on her own personal blog. Lastly, ShopBack is recruiting designers and UX researchers from different countries. If you're interested, please click on the links to find out more. And I want to give credit to Jareen, our product designer, for doing the amazing graphic design work on all of these slides. And also full credit to Iru, our UX researcher, for doing all the beautiful illustrations that you saw in the hypothetical week in the life of the UX researcher. So thank you so much for your time. I'll hand it over to Pam for the Q&A.
Thank you. So nice, guys. You came for learnings and now you're about to go back with a job. So thank you once again to both our speakers, Jasmine and Amy, today for sharing about the research culture in ShopBack. I'm sure everyone has learned a thing or two from this talk. And I'm also sure that we're all burning to ask questions. I've seen so much activity going on with the chat. So let's get right to it. Wait, I should share my video again. I've just been talking to myself. Give me a second. My video is a bit slow. All right, nice. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen and we're going to go into the questions. Okay. Yeah, so let's begin with an easy one. I'm going to start with an easier one first just to get our hands into it, which is this question. What are some advice you have for small design teams to work on research?
I'm waiting for Jasmine and Amy because if you both want to try to answer first. Okay, let me try. This is very awkward. This is very funny. Okay, so basically, hi everyone. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Nanning. I'm the research lead in the team. And then yeah, so when I think just want to address a few questions first. We don't start the stand-up at 9 a.m. We start at 9:45. And then secondly, yes, the 25% Yoshi is me. But yeah, so what are some advices for a small design team to work on research? I think like this is something that is a very common question from a typical small design team members. I think generally the previous, I think like the perspective back then is that there was a very clear distinction between the work or the job scope of designer and researcher. So usually designer is only meant to do designs and then the researcher is only doing research. But I guess like what I've seen, the trend and what I've experienced as well is that I think like for designers and thankfully as well in ShopBack, all the designers are very, very capable to do research on their own as well. So for us, I think like right now in ShopBack, the research team is we are making sure to be able to answer more contextual and more foundational research questions, and also like building the infrastructure and building the process to enable all, not just the designers, but also product managers, even graphic designers as well, everyone in ShopBack to be able to do research. So I think like if it's a small design team, we can always try to look into I think like the perspective is not just about research, but also what kind of data that you want to see. So I don't think designers should limit themselves only on doing designs or even just doing qualitative research, but also look into quantitative research as well. So you can look into data, you can look into conducting survey, for example. I think there's a lot of ways, or even like, even like looking into the support tickets as well. So I think like there's a lot of ways in terms of the data, and most companies right now are quite user-centered as well. The chances are as well is that other, not just your team, but also like other team members in the company are also doing research on their own in the different forms as well. So one of a very small portion, or one of a very small form of research, you can always do it by just consolidating all of the insights about the users from what you have in the company from different types of research. But yeah, so I think there's definitely a lot of things like a small design team can do when it comes to research. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we'll just move on to the next question, which is a bit more about this one, which I found quite interesting, and it's kind of on the same vein. So it's a lot about the buy-in to actually have a research team. I know you guys have grown quite a bit in the past year. You were saying that you just got a new member quite recently. And so this is a question about how ShopBack actually got started to buy into research, especially because it's so hard to get even a dedicated person to do research, never mind an entire team like yours. This is really difficult, especially when you're even trying to convince a client that a designer is even about it. So I think this is something I'm personally really interested in.
To be honest, I think like this is problem that I can proudly say, I think this is not a problem that we typically would have, because people in ShopBack are extremely user-centered. So the spectrum of the problem that we would typically have is that we have so many interests on research. Everyone wants to do research. Everyone is very interested about the users, but we only have a team of 4. And we only speak like very limited language as well throughout the markets that we serve in ShopBack. So I feel like, but I think like, I'll try to answer these questions as well. But I think like when it comes to getting the buy-in, I do think, I think like, especially for people, not everyone have seen an impact of research. So as in, I think it's a bit of UX as well. We can't tell people who have been working on something on a domain, for example, and then we tell them like, this is how we're supposed to do things, or research is the right way to develop a product, for example. I feel like this is something that we have to really understand from the audience, from the stakeholder perspective as well. So a lot of times as well, if there's any stakeholders that is harder to convince, for example, we usually would try to get their buy-in by showing the findings as well. And usually I think like we've seen a lot of cases where stakeholders change a lot the relationship and the narrative that they have after looking into our findings as well. So definitely I think like there's a lot of process, and when it comes to education, it's not just about telling people like this is how you're supposed to develop your product, or like research is the way. It's not. I definitely don't think it's that way. I think it's a lot about like how we can go into their shoes as well, and then to also educate them that research is important, understanding the users is important as well. And there's a lot of work in terms of showing the value through the findings as well, and through the recommendations. So yeah, I think like there's a lot of way, but definitely I think when it comes to ShopBack, thankfully, very fortunately, we don't have this problem. The problem that we have is that everyone really wants to do research. Everyone is very user-centered. And then yeah, so currently like we are lacking of people who do the research. So, and that's why I'm hiring as well. So yeah.
Great. So in summary, put a lot of education into your stakeholders, as well as if you really just want to find a place that really likes research, you should go to ShopBack and try and get a job.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to questions that are a bit more related to actually working on user research. So let's talk a bit about how you actually do the tagging as well as maintaining your qualitative database, because this information that can get really wild and crazy.
Anyone, I think I have to give a chance to my team as well. Anyone wants to answer the question as well?
Yeah, I can answer this question. So usually, like I was mentioning earlier, also Jasmine mentioned earlier, that we have like different phases of research, right? And when data was collected, collected, we have this debrief session. Debriefing sessions, usually we have a very high level tagging already. And just like by observing the, like highlights in these sessions, and that'll be one type of tagging onto different highlight behaviors. Then after that, we will looking into our transcriptions, and by transcription, we'll read through the transcription, also tagging the behaviors accordingly, and then putting those transcriptions into a little post-it notes and starting clustering those tagged conversations onto the sticky notes and cluster them into the themes. Yeah, so yeah, hope I answered the questions.
Yeah, I think I'm curious myself, because assuming this is a lot of data, like how would you tag it in the sense of, I suppose that would be like maybe colors or even like grouping and just adding some text, maybe more specifics into like how you would actually conduct the tagging for of us over here so that we can hear from you.
Yeah. And also, yeah, so not just the tag in itself, right? Sometimes we use like hashtag and bold and trying to emphasizing the importance of the themes, and if it's like the cross themes that we observe, we might using different labels and or different forms of the sticky notes. And sometimes we will also like putting on fiction, we'll put it on stars and trying to emphasize in the importance of the insights or behaviors. Yeah. Jasmine, do you have anything you want to add on?
I think maybe I can talk a bit about the qualitative database. So after we do all our user research, we typically upload the findings probably in the form of Google Slides, or it could be even just a Confluence documentation. So it's all uploaded into Confluence, and it can be accessible to any stakeholder who wants to review it. And it's also categorized according to the different product areas in the different countries. So Nanning is the one that has been organizing that page as well. So that's how we try to make the qualitative database more accessible to everyone. And as far as possible, we try to update the research studies that we do into that particular Confluence page.
Right, yeah, documentation is really important. Okay, so I think I still want to take on another question that's relating to actual processes and work itself. Yeah, maybe let's go with this one. So can you share an example of how you're able to remove your personal bias from the data and findings prior to sharing with stakeholders? I feel like this is one of those things that's a bit easier said than done. Maybe anything that you guys had consciously tried to do to avoid this issue?
I guess for me, like sometimes after we do user research, right, some of the maybe a specific finding we can personally resonate strongly with a specific finding, and we may be tempted to sort of highlight the finding a bit more in the sharing. So what we usually do is maybe we'll speak to, for example, the product manager, just to get a like sort of a wider understanding of how important this issue actually is, or whether in the wider scheme of things, is this something that is truly like a prevalent finding? Maybe we can check that through our like Amplitude database or our Metabase database to understand how many users are actually facing that problem, so that we can remove some of our personal bias and highlight truly the most important and relevant insights for our stakeholders who are attending the presentation.
I'll just add in a bit. I think like if we look into the whole qualitative research process, there are definitely a few ways for us on how we try to remove biases. I think when we look into the upstream, the very basic part of research planning, I think like when we are very careful in designing the research questions and designing the questions, the interview questions itself. We are very careful in terms of trying to ask questions that is not leading and doesn't have any bias behind it. We always try to make sure that we go to the past experience and then ask questions end to end throughout the whole process. So that is more a bit on the upstream. And when it comes to the downstream of the insight on the research process itself, we generally try to, I think the reason that one of the reason that we always try to mix methods as well is also to make sure that we have more accuracy of the insights that we present. So most of the qualitative insights that we present on our findings, we try to quantify those behaviors, and then we do check them with quantitative data, whether those are from data analytics or even doing survey after that. So for example, like if we see, for example, users are having issues using our certain features, for example, what do we do is that we will look into data, and then we will see how we can quantify this particular behavior, and then we see whether this is something that happens as much as how we hear from there. Because I think like especially when it comes to qualitative research, I don't think it would ever be what do you call it? I don't think it would ever be representing the data the users, because it is a qualitative research, is not a quantitative findings. So for us, I think like there are definitely cases where we look into the findings and then like we are not sure whether this happens only for this particular users that we recruit, or only happen with this particular users but resonates a lot with our experience, for example. That's why I think typically for us, we do try our best to always quantify the findings with the data to make sure that it is accurate, and then we also don't have any bias towards the findings.
And honestly, I think the point about how you actually take out the bias from writing the questions itself is really important. And I feel like it's something that everyone tends to forget. That you naturally do get bias, even not at the interview stage, but even when it comes to crafting the way you kind of written up your research plan. So I think that's a really important point to note, and something that we should all take away, because it's just something that's so easy to forget as you're working on it. Okay, we still have quite a few questions here. How about for the last question actually? Does the ShopBack team want to take on one? Like feel free to pick one and go ahead and answer it. Because there are so many questions here. Honestly, you guys can start a podcast. Start a day in the life of the ShopBack team. Now's your chance.
Hero, do you wanna pick a question and then answer it yourself?
Wow, that's so difficult. Wow. Podcast. So many things. Anyone want to pick? I have no idea which one to pick.
Or Jasmine or Amy, do you want to pick something?
So for the record, we have 51 questions. I'm just showing the top few.
Yeah, sure.
You guys are very popular.
Jasmine or Amy, do you have anything? I want to try to give you the focus, and I've been talking a lot.
Maybe, Iro, do you want to talk a bit about how qualitative and quantitative it works in our team?
Okay, yeah.
I've seen that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, from our mixed method, I think because in ShopBack we also have a data analyst, but actually all of the members need to we have an introduction to the data university, so that we have to learn about quantitative data and how to manage them. So actually, I think also Jasmine and Amy already mentioned about it. So when we are conducting the research and after we are working on the findings, we are also want to find some of the research data. We were trying to find some of the quant data from like a database or ability to see whether our interview or our result is corresponding to the major of the users. So actually, I think if we have a specific things in mind, we probably will try to get ourselves into to find the data, or we will working together with the product manager or data analysis to try to corresponding our results. So it's kind of like majorly is for the if it's majorly for the like user interview, but we are still trying to adding some of the insight from the data. Yeah.
I'll add in a bit. So I think for us, for mixing method, I think this is something that we have been trying to improve, and we've been experiment different things. So I think like we've been trying to experiment mixing user interview with data analytics, and then like with diary study with data analytics, user interview with survey as well, user interview with support tickets as well. But I think like throughout the whole mixing mixing research methodologies, I think I would probably try to split it into 3 types, whether we are mixing quantitative at the beginning, or whether we are mixing quantitative in the middle of the research, or whether we are mixing the quantitative after the research, the qualitative research. So if we do the quantitative before the if you do the quantitative research before the qualitative research, typically we would do some exploratory analysis through data analytics, and then we see if there's any particular pattern that we can learn more through qualitative research. This can be started through, for example, like segmentation analysis. For example, we look into certain pattern behavior from certain segments, and then working closely. Usually the segments is something that we are working closely with the data team, because data team have certain segments as well. Then we look into amplitude and meta-base, and then we see like if there's any certain patterns from there. And then we design the research plan for the qualitative research based on the findings that we get from the exploratory analysis. If it's in the middle of the research, typically I think like we would do it together. So sometimes like we would try to match the interview. So we did like the diary study, and then we do data analytics, and then we do interview after that. So after diary study, we try to validate some of the findings through data analytics. And then after that, we do interview to learn more from the findings that we have validated through the diary study. If it's after, typically I think like it is again to validate the findings that we have. And this is something that we are trying to do more as well, to see like when we do research and then like we give the recommendations to our stakeholders, I think it is also very important for us as researchers to see the performance of our research. So after we give the recommendations, and then after 2 to 3 months, for example, and then we will try to go back to the stakeholders again and then see what's the performance of those recommendations that we give. Because obviously like we would give, for example, like, oh, you should change the strategy into something like this, or you should change the design into something like this. We as researchers, I think like we should also understand like whether those are the right recommendations that we give or not. So in the end, like I think like when we plan out the qualitative research, usually we would identify what are the metrics that we want to move through this research. And then after the research, after a few months, then we will see whether those metrics actually are moved. Whether it is going up or whether it is going down. If it's not going as how we expected, I think that's still exactly the learnings that we want. I hope that answered the questions.
Definitely. So basically, it's a lot of planning, constant iteration, checking to see if your mixed method actually works, and going back again to try again. So yes, frankly, very much a designer or researcher kind of life. I think Iru has actually posted a resource about mixing methodologies in the chat. So you can read a bit more about Amy's post regarding diary studies. So this is really good information that we can look at. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to cut the Q&A here. So guys, feel free to come back again. We've got 47 more questions for you. I'm not sure if we'll have more after this. Or if not, feel free to start a podcast. We will definitely support you. And yeah, if this talk has piqued your interest, go and join them at ShopBack and apply at corporate.shopback.com. All right, so with that, we're almost at the end of today's session. But before we go, I just have a few more things to share with everyone. So just a reminder that you'll see some resources of how you can help Ukraine in the interactive file that we shared earlier. And as per tradition, we've also collected some active job links in the interactive file. So do have a look at them and check out if you're hiring. We know ShopBack is. And thank you to Zoe for collating all of this. So, yeah, so Zoe has already sent out a feedback link in our chat. I told you I'll improve with my timing, and I kind of did. And basically, let us know what you think and what other topics or speakers you want to hear from. Yeah. So the next thing is on our Discord. There you go. Yes, join us on our Discord channel where everyone can hang out and support each other. So we host monthly-ish casual and cozy hangout sessions where we just jump in on a voice chat and channel and we discuss stuff that we care about. We also have an anonymous question program for you to ask pressing questions to the server if you're shy. And recently we've been hosting chats around the theme of career. So we talk to design recruiters, heads of design managers, hiring process, negotiation, and more. So see you on the server. And so finally, we're at the end of our session. So slow clap, or please click the clap emoji. I'm gonna like check if people are clicking on the clap emoji. Nice, I'm seeing like, okay, great. Thank you, I feel so loved. And thank you to all the women who made tonight possible. That's Jasmine, Nanning, Amy, and Iru. And let's also give a last shout out to Sam and Zoe for their help today. And with that, thanks for coming, everyone. I'll give you back the night.